Before I play this clip, yes, you are reading this correctly. It says white student throws cotton at a black male student and whips him with a belt. And it is coming from the Black Media page. Was a TikTok, but the Black Media page on Instagram posted it. Actually, it's coming from a couple of places. It was posted on the Black Media page, but the way I found it was on this page called Dr. Wes Bellamy. And he left a comment on the side of his page, and I'm actually going to read it after I play this clip right here.
Oh shit. Oh.
Okay, so that's the whole thing right there. I'm waiting for it to get back to the front page and I'm gonna pause it. Okay, so you see what happened right there. You had this PC piece of shit come up and start throwing cotton at this black boy sitting at the table minding his business, and he took a belt and started whipping him like he was a slave, and he threw cotton at him. Now these are students in I'm at a high school. It's a Catholic high school in some place called Houma, Louisiana. And as you can see, not far removed from the ancestors, this is still in full effect. What have I told y'all? What have I been telling y'all? And then after he hits him with the belt, well, notice that the kids are laughing. The white kids are sitting there laughing. They think this shit is funny. But he gets up, he charges at the white student and pushes his ass right out the door. I would have been doing a whole bunch more, but at least he did put hands on him with physical force and enough to push his ass out that door. But that's all we see right here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the comment that comes from Dr. Wes Bellamy, who posted this, and then I'm going to play the news clip that reported on this story. Now, keep in mind, I'm recording this video on March 15, 2022, and this story went out on March 11th, 2022, 4 days ago. So it reads, in 2022, a white student threw cotton on a black student and proceeded to, quote unquote, beat him with a whip. Well, it was a belt, but you know, that's what the white student thought it was pretending it was. This took place at Vanderbilt Catholic High School in Houma, Louisiana in 2022, not 1922. I have a few thoughts. I want to have a respectful conversation about black kids going to private white schools. According to reports, the black population at Vanderbilt Catholic High School is less than 5%. These overt acts of racism and white supremacy are disgusting and repulsive. But what about the acts we don't see? The microaggressions, the subtle acts of racism, and the other stuff. When black parents send their kids to these schools in hopes of providing their children with a better education, more access, or other reasons, are these occurrences taken into account? I'm going to say it right now. Hell no. Listen to how the percentage. They said 5% of the black population at the school is black. That's it. That means the majority is PC and sprinkled in with some other, ethnic groups. When a child is surrounded by people who don't value them, don't understand them, and impose their will on them, what is the outcome? Is it assimilation? Is it cultural devaluation? Or is it possible to maintain your cultural foundation in spite of it all? I'm not here to judge, but I hear stories like this all the time, and I wonder if the deeper, sometimes subconscious belief that white is right is so ingrained with us that we forfeit the well-being of those who are still developing who they aspire to be. Is this an absolute? No. Do we have anomalies? Yes. Nothing is absolutes, but to pretend as if the occurrences in the video, albeit extreme, are uncommon would be a lie. I wonder what's so wrong with us or our schools that we would rather send our kids over there to be subjected to this kind of treatment, opposed to us appreciating what we do have at our schools and simultaneously being actively engaged to create the changes that we wish to see for our young people. Pay tuition for mistreatment while fighting for inclusion to prove to others that you're good enough instead of property taxes to make your local schools better. I don't know if all, but I've been a high school teacher, dean of an alternative school, served on the Virginia Board of Education and the youngest ever to do so, and now serving as a college professor and department chairman. And that's the comment from Dr. Wes Bellamy. And everything that he said in there was pretty much on point, very accurate. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the news clip coming from WWL-TV. The clip is about 2.5 minutes long. I'm curious to see what their media outlet has to say about this.
New tonight, an overt display of racism is lighting up social media feeds in Terrebonne Parish. It involves a white student throwing what appears to be cotton at a black student and slapping him with what looks like a belt. Well, tonight, both parents and alumni at Vanderbilt Catholic High School are outraged. Devin Bartolotta has more from Homa.
The Archdiocese says the incident happened here on Wednesday. By Thursday, there was a sheriff's office investigation and a video seen parish-wide. You can see here a white student walks up behind a black student at lunch, throws a handful of cotton balls onto the table, and begins to slap him with a belt. Then the black student pushes. This all happened at Vanderbilt Catholic High School in Homa Wednesday afternoon.
You know, we can't sweep this under the rug. We can't push this off and make this more skeletons in the closet.
PJ Aldridge is a Vanderbilt alumnus and coached the student who was hit with the belt. He's also friends with the child's family. He says the young man is one of few non-white students at the school.
That's Vanderbilt? Like, this is Vanderbilt. Home, right here. Not that far from where I live. A school I went to, a school that I represent, a school that I coached at. And to see it, it's hurting that we're living in a time such as 2022. To where it's like we're not in the 50s, we're not in the 60s.
The Archdiocese issued a statement Thursday saying there's no tolerance for racist or bullying behavior, writing, quote, "Yesterday's actions by a few are not consistent with the values and mission of our school." The parents of the child who was targeted also issued a statement in that press release thanking people for their support and writing, quote, "We will continue to pray for our school community as a whole, that we not only get through this together, but that we each learn a valuable lesson for what has taken place." The family met with school administrators and the sheriff's office, who says they've opened an investigation. The ACLU of Louisiana calls it inexcusable.
This was a child who thought that what he was doing was okay, potentially even funny. When we think about bullying, when we think about young children who experience bullying and what happens to them, this is how it starts.
But at least one alumni is hoping this video is where it will stop, and educators at Vanderbilt will use this as a moment to teach. The Archdiocese has not named the student involved and won't comment on any disciplinary action, but says the school is following its policy.
Okay, so I see quite a few red flags here, and it can actually piggyback off of a story that I just recently did in Florida. And I don't have to ask if y'all remember it because I just did the video. The video that I did about the white students down in Florida who allegedly got attacked and called names and slurs, and while the other kids who were beating them were saying brown power and whatnot. Notice how swiftly they hit them with a hate crime charge, and these were minor students with a hate crime charge almost immediately, and they were arrested. Now we have this story right here that at this point probably could have potentially came out before that story. Because if I'm looking, because I recorded the stories out of order because I didn't know that this story existed until today on March 15th. But I want to say that this happened either around the same time or slightly before that one. Now here we have this, and they want to do an investigation where they said there has not been any disciplinary actions as of yet, meaning they're going to drag this out. Even though we can clearly see on camera, and y'all saw it right here, of this white student beating this black student with a belt and throwing cotton at him in front of a cafeteria full of other white students. And we have video proof of it happening. We just have hearsay with the other incident. We don't see anything. The only thing they showed was that they had little markings on their body. How do we know they didn't do this to themselves? I'm just saying. I mean, they give everybody else the goddamn benefit of the doubt. So you see what I'm talking about here? Whenever I say there's two Americas going on that are functioning right now. Another thing that I noticed as well is the statement that the family gave, not the family of the one who did it, but the family of the black kid. They talking about, we will continue to pray for our community. Excuse me? But you know what I've noticed? And I'm going to be honest, this doesn't apply to every black family. But I notice a lot of black parents who send their child to these mainly white institutions whether it's on a public level, a private school level, a Catholic school level, or even a collegiate level, they tend to have some Sambo tendencies to me. A lot of them scream that they're trying to get away from black people. If y'all remember the story I told y'all about the man up in the upper Northeast, I think in Connecticut somewhere, who basically now lives amongst the upper echelon, him and his wife, who also happens to be black, and his 2 sons at the time, you know, said that he moved out of this area because, you know, they were from the hood. They were from, you know, impoverished backgrounds, him and his wife. But they thought since they made it and made it out of a certain area, they made it away from a certain level of crime or whatever the case may be, or whatever they had to deal with when they were younger. Fast forward to them having children, and guess who gets hit with the racial slurs? Their children. Not the crime that they're trying to get away from or whatever they grew up around. They get hit with the racial slurs and the racism and the systemic oppression from the same people that they ended up running into. And I have a feeling that his parents are the same way. See, this self-hate passes on to the children because the parents had it first. So yes, I am putting some blame on the parents for this. That statement, you heard it. Even if I can't remember exactly verbatim what it said, you heard for yourself word for word what they said. Pray for our community? No, that's the wrong response. Your child was humiliated, teased, bullied, whatever you want to call it, and hit with a belt to pretend like he was a slave and had cotton thrown at him. He actually had the best response in this video when he pushed that boy out the damn door. He should have continued beating his ass. He should have took the belt and whooped his motherfucking ass with it. And see how it feels. And then you had all those other little bastards in there laughing, because they thought the shit was funny. And the minute he got up and pushed that boy out the door, it went from ha 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 to ooh. Remember that? Remember I talked about it in my live stream where you had that white girl picking on that, I guess she was an Arab girl, messing with her, and the black, they thought it was funny, and the black girl got in her face and went in on her ass, and it went from, oh my God, she's hitting her, she's assaulting her, get her off of her. See how the tone changes up when we actually stand up for ourselves? The only person I applaud in this situation is the boy, because at least he gave him some pushback. Literally, you saw it in the video. He pushed his ass out that door. It looked like he hit the wall before he hit the outside of the door. So I know he probably hurting a little bit. And then it cuts off after that. Notice they cut it off after the black boy gives some conflict back to the white student. But when the white student was hitting him with the belt and throwing cotton, it was all laughs and giggles. Because they thought that shit was funny. That was their entertainment. Whoever recorded it, they thought it was funny seeing a black boy be humiliated like that. You know, it's so funny. I was watching a live stream that the 1LVZ did today on his channel. And I had mentioned, he said that he had watched my video about Ryan Connell and the comments he made about the Batman. And and the 1LVZ, you know how he is. He said he made a mistake in his video, in his commentary. He said, when he said there was only 2 good white people, Batman and Alfred, he said, I didn't see any good white people when it comes to Batman. Because as far as I'm concerned, based on what Dr. Khalid Muhammad says, and he played the video, there are no good, he said, there's no good white people. He said there's only 2 types, bad white people and worse white people. What category do you think this boy fits into? And what category do you think his parents fit into? And also, what category do you think the kids that were laughing at this black boy being humiliated fit into? I can tell you right now, neither one of them is good. So, dear white people, I'm not covering my bases by saying PC right now. Right now, that would be PC of me to say. I'm laying it all out. Dear white people, you want to know why a lot of black people hate your guts? Here's a perfect example. And look at it. These are high school students, which means these kids were born in the 2000s. Not the 90s, not the 80s, not the 70s or the 60s or even further back. The fucking 2000s. So what's your excuse now? You have none. It starts at home. That's where it begins with. Unfortunately, because it starts in the home and it carries out of the home, it doesn't end there, because all it's going to do is continue to carry on and go on and on like the goddamn Energizer Bunny. So I hope the student who did it, fuck him, fuck those kids who laugh. And as far as I'm concerned with this black kids' parents and that response they gave, and I read another comment somewhere too where somebody has said that the parents had said something about the response to what the parents had said, something about some "we are Vanderbilt" or something like that. They said, when I saw a comment like that, I already knew what it was. If that is the case, fuck his parents as well. There are no good people in this story except for that black kid that retaliated the best way he could. You want to know why a lot of black people are scared to retaliate? Because they're scared of the backlash they'll receive. Because they're scared of being called the angry this and the angry that. At this point, fuck that. Be mad. Be angry. It is what it is. Everybody else can express that emotion but us. Fuck that. Because at the end of the day, we are human beings. That 3/5 of a human being, hey, chop that shit up and throw it in the bottom of the goddamn ocean. They want us to act like, they always try to make it seem like we're animals and we're savage. Y'all haven't seen animals and savages just yet. But keep it up, and you might just get your wish. Some of you have already gotten your wish granted, quiet as it's kept. I bet that's the most pushback this little pipsqueak ever got in his goddamn life. I can tell his parents ain't putting boot to ass on him at home. I'm talking about the white kid that did this. Hell, they probably encouraged it. And I bet you this isn't even the first time he's done this. I bet you it's not. This is not his first ride at the rodeo. But it's interesting that he specifically targeted, and he did. He targeted that black kid. Because if you notice in the video, I know it's kind of blurry, there was another black kid that was there. He didn't mess with him, but he messed with the other kid that was next to him. And you can tell by the way, I can tell body language from a distance. You can tell by the way that kid got up. He was fed up. I'm telling you, he's probably been bullied before. He may have gone home and told his parents, and his parents probably told him to deal with it. We put too much money into your education for you to come home crying and all this. I bet you that's what they're saying. Put all this money to be around the proximity of whiteness, and this is what your child got to deal with. What kind of parent are you? You obviously don't care about your child's well-being, especially not based on that statement talking about some pray for our community. Fuck prayer. What is prayer going to do? This shit got me so... I didn't even expect to go off like this. I really didn't. I thought I was going to be calm and tame with this, but you know what? I think it's a buildup of a bunch of stories that I've come across in this past 2 weeks of either parents killing their kids or raping some other kids and getting away with it. And now you have this. We are living in a world where these kids are being treated like shit, from all ages, from adults to kids. Like, where does the line in the sand get drawn when you got to deal with stuff like this? And they wonder why, like I said, black people don't want to be around white people like that. Here is a perfect example. Exhibit A through motherfucking Z. I feel like it doesn't even have, it's not even, it can't get much more clear and cut than this. I mean, if people don't get it by now, I don't know when they're going to get it. They better wake the fuck up. I do know that. Now this black boy just got his wake up call. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't in private. Now the whole world sees it. But I'm glad that he actually did put hands on this child, on this little bastard, and didn't walk off with his head hanging down. That probably would have pissed me off even more. See, if I was there, and if that scenario came up and he walked away and I was right there, I would have like, nah, we're going to turn you right around and you going to punch him dead in his shit. And I dare him to swing back. That's the kind of energy that needs to be met. You fight fire with fire. That's how it's supposed to be. No more of this weak shit. And that goes for people of all ages, of all genders, whatever you identify as, or whatever the case may be. You meet that kind of energy with even more energy. That's all I have for this video. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Make sure you go ahead and hit that bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live.